Colby Cohen is a former NHLer. He spent a couple years at the Blackhawks broadcast team. Now he's a contributor on Daily Faceoff, and he's got spicy Oilers takes that he texts me all the time. And I said, damn it, Colby, we need to get these on the air. How's it going?
What's up, Tyler? I'm very much enjoying this serenade to Sam Gagner. I'm a big Sam Gagner fan. I grew up playing a lot of hockey with Sam. We played on a lot of summer teams together all throughout our youth hockey, and he's just such a great guy, such a great person. And, he's just always been that way since we go back, to 10 years old or something like that. So, I'm always rooting to see Sam Gagner do well. And I don't watch the Oilers, and I'm not as in the Oiler nation like you guys are, like day in and day out. But I always keep an eye on the score sheet to see Sam Gagner's name.
They were chanting, "We want Gagner" with 5 minutes to go in the third period last night. It was absolutely electric. And last
they forget when they ran him out of town, huh?
Yeah. But he's back. We'll forget about that. He's back. Third tour of duty with the Oilers. He looked great last night. But this team, man, 98 shot attempts last night, but they suffered their sixth regulation loss of the season. Give us an outsider's perspective here. You won't be a homer. Is this just a team going through a slump, a team fighting some bad luck, or is this going to be a team, or is this a team that's just flat out bad?
So, my goal is not to come on here and anger your entire fan base, but I might. And this is something I've been texting you about for a couple of weeks. So this is not a new take. And you can't deny the skill of this team. There's just players on this team that can do what no one else can do in the NHL. But to me, it's just a flawed roster. It really is. I think all Oilers fans have had a lot to say about the bottom six for years now. This is not a new conversation. But the mix is what I have an issue with, and I have an issue with the goaltending. I think that's always been a problem in McDavid's tenure. You guys have had some good stretches from some goaltenders that have done some good things, but when you really needed goaltending, when the games were on the line, you just never seem to get it. You never seem to get that big save to keep momentum going the Oilers' way. And then all of a sudden 4 or 5 chances don't go in one end, and then the puck is in the back of your net, and it's so deflating. So to me, that's a glaring area. And even if Jack Campbell has one good night or Skinner has one good night, to me, I don't trust those guys come playoff time. And I'm going to point some fingers at the general manager for not having the right goaltending mix. And I'm going to point some fingers at the head coach, because Bruce Cassidy won a Stanley Cup last year with goaltending that was completely unknown to the outside world. And that was all about getting his team to buy in to managing the puck at blue lines, managing the puck at red lines, and thinking about defense first, being stingy defensively and kind of not taking shortcuts. When I watch Edmonton play at times, they take shortcuts. They cheat offensively. They want to score. And that's kind of how they're built. And the take that I have, and I've been saying it to you for a couple of weeks, and then I saw John Butchergross tweeted it, and that's what I sent you, early this morning on East Coast time, is I think they need to trade Draisaitl. I really do. And I just will say this, because I see the look on your face, because I don't want to upset you, Tyler. I know this is your show, but I will fully say, Leon Draisaitl on any given night is the second best player in the entire league on any given night. So this is not me coming onto your show saying he's not a good player. No, he's elite. He will be a Hall of Famer. He will be one of the greats, but it's not working. It's not working. And he makes $8.5 million right now, which is incredibly reasonable. And what happens on his next contract in 2 years when he wants $15 million a year, because the cap will have gone up and that'll be the going rate? Are you going to win a Stanley Cup when 2 players, and McDavid's going to be not far after him, you're going to have 2 players making $30 million within a couple of years? So is that going to give you enough room to win a Stanley Cup? And I look at their breakdown of contracts, and I was on Cap Friendly before I came on with you just to see, after this season, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of turnover. Guys who have one more year, they're in the last year of deals. There's some UFAs, RFAs. There's flexibility within the roster, but I think you could get such an insane haul at $8.5 million cap hit for Leon Draisaitl that you could basically bring in and fill every hole with not just role players, but very good players. You could go to a good team. You could take their best prospect. You could take 2 or 3 of their super high-end players that make maybe $5 or $6 million each, not 8 to 10 million or 10 to 12. And I think you could put a more competitive, balanced roster on the ice. And that's not taking into account what Connor McDavid would want, what Connor McDavid would think. You guys know all that stuff better. I'm sure that he would be very pissed off. But the clock is ticking, boys. McDavid's contract isn't lasting forever. And Wayne Gretzky once left Edmonton and was traded out of Edmonton. So I'm just saying, I'm not looking to make people angry. I'm trying to support my facts. I know I'm talking a lot. The floor is yours.
Well, if you're not looking to make anyone angry, didn't do a great job of that. Chat's relatively
Chat is on fire right now.
Chat is absolutely on fire. But
sorry, everyone.
Here's my counter to that is when we've seen teams do this, they never win the trade. Boston lost that Joe Thornton trade back in the day so bad. Calgary lost that Matt Tkachuk trade really, really bad. And they got Jonathan Huberdeau back, a guy who's supposed to be a 115-point guy, a potential top pairing guy in Uyghur and picks. And they still are sitting there going, damn, now we need a new franchise player. I think the Oilers can fill the holes that they have by dealing picks and prospects. And I don't think there's a sum of the parts that can equal Draisaitl when he's at his best. Like, you're basically at that point sacrificing the best power play of all time because you need both those guys, 97 and 29, for that to work. And you're sacrificing something that no other team has, which is the ability to put 2 of the best players in the sport on the ice at the same time when you need a goal.
And what I will say to that, Tyler, and I don't remember the Thornton trade. Like, I know he was traded from Boston, obviously, but I don't remember the intricacies of it. The Tkachuk one, I think, is a little different because he forced his way out. It was well known that he was leaving and that he was only going to certain places because of the sign and trade, part of that deal. So there was limitations as to who Calgary could try to make a deal with. So that's all. The Thornton one, you would remember, and you know that better than I do. But I think you could go out and find a player that maybe isn't a top 10 best player in the NHL, but maybe somewhere in the top 25, and you put him with 97, and 97 is going to make them a top 10 best player in the league. And you can do that. And let me I'll just quickly read what Butchergross's tweet was that I sent to you, and what he put up. He said, would you trade Draisaitl and Foegele for last year's Vezina winner? Okay, so there's your goaltender, DeBrusk, Matthew Patra, Lysell, a 2026 first rounder. I probably wouldn't make that deal. Like, that deal to me isn't good enough. I would need more. But a haul like that, like, I'd go after Jeremy Swayman, not Linus Ullmark, and I'd start there. And then from there, I would start trying to pick apart that roster. I would want, Patra, and then, I would want DeBrusk, and I would want these guys. DeBrusk could score 25 or 30 goals on the Edmonton Oilers. Like, he could. I mean, he's not in Draisaitl's class, but I do like I do like Jake DeBrusk. Sorry, I said Matthew, but I don't know, man. It's not working. The way they're doing it isn't working. It hasn't worked.
I think, and the reason I wanted to have you on to go through this thought exercise is, if this season does not turn around, I think there are some very, very, very difficult conversations that need to happen this summer because Draisaitl is extension eligible. You need to know if he's going to commit to you for another 8 years. But I mean, to get to a point where you're asking that guy, to waive his no movement clause, as soon as you do it, kind of similar, I guess, to what I know of the Gretzky trade, where as soon as you consider it, you got to do it because you've burned the bridge. And I would just worry if you've then burnt the bridge with 97 and then screwed yourself out of keeping 97 as an Oiler for his career. But I do think if this thing doesn't turn around this season and they don't make the playoffs and win 2 or 3 rounds even, then yeah, there's going to be a big roster construction conversation that happens this summer. And it's probably going to be a new GM making those decisions as well. So, I mean, I don't know. Nothing will be off the table if it doesn't turn around. But I don't think I'm being a homer when I say they'll get back in the mix here. They will make
Yeah.
the playoffs in this Pacific Division.
Yeah, I don't think you're being a homer. I really don't. And look, I want to see, like, I like this idea of McDavid lifting the Stanley Cup for the NHL. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, like you guys out in the eastern part of the United States have all this East Coast bias." And I love when Edmonton is playing out here and the games are at 7 p.m. and I can watch Edmonton without falling asleep, you know, because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Edmonton, when they're going, are as fun to watch. They're like watching Tampa a couple years ago. They get the puck. I mean, when they came to town against Chicago and I would be between the benches, I probably would talk half as much as I normally would on a broadcast because I would just be watching McDavid, because it's mesmerizing to watch this guy play at that level. And Draisaitl, he's a behemoth of a man. Like, Draisaitl is a monster out on the ice, and just watching what these guys can do at that, you know, from that vantage point it's incredible. So I didn't, you know, I know I've angered your fan base and I've angered your listeners, but I'm not looking like, this doesn't make me happy to say. I just think that it's not working. It's been another coach. We're on a second GM. They signed Campbell. Like, everything that they seem to try hasn't paid off yet. Love Ekholm at the trade deadline last year. I haven't seen him as much this year. I don't know. You guys could tell me better if it's working well this year, but he's what, 33, 34 years old now. I mean, guys who play 24 and 25 minutes, they hit that 33, 34-year-old mark, and there's going to be a little bit of trail off. So, you know, I worry about the decor. I think Nurse is a little bit inconsistent. You know, I really do. I don't think he brings it every night for a $9 million a year player. If he's going to be your true number one, I'm not sure he really is, but that's what I got for you. I hope you'll have me back. I'm sure I didn't make any friends today.
We'll have you back on when the Oilers record gets back to 500, and then we'll revisit this whole conversation. But I had like a bunch of outside Edmonton questions to take my mind off the Oilers. I'll throw one at you because we are kind of running out of time. Jack Hughes is sick, and he's playing hockey not that far from where you're living right now. What's his ceiling this year, man? Like, can he be a 130-point guy?
I mean, if you asked me like 2 weeks ago, I was like, no, he'll trail off. Like, this is just a hot streak, but it doesn't look like it. And you know what makes him elite, in my opinion, is just the speed and the pace that he plays at when he gets the puck. You know, there's only maybe half a dozen players in the NHL that can get to fifth and sixth. You know, McDavid is seventh, eighth gear, but him and McKinnon are alone in that category. But then there's only a few more that can hit that sixth gear, right? These guys who are like Ferraris when they get the puck. And Hughes is like a Ferrari, man. When he gets the puck, he gets faster, and you can just see the way he's kind of picking apart defensemen, changing his speeds. I mean, that goal he scored where he kind of comes into the zone a little bit lazily and throws a head fake, and then his acceleration is so quick that he's able to head towards the net. And, you know, this was probably a goal he scored a week or two ago. And I just was like, wow, the way he's able to change his speeds is, you know, because he's learning the league. I mean, yeah, why would he slow down? Look at how he's playing. Look at who he's playing with. I think playing with his brother, his younger brother, has given him a whole another level of energy because of how exciting that probably is day in and day out. I think that type of family stuff matters. And I think especially as an older brother, you want to set an example for your younger brother. He's incredible. Like he's going to be there at the end for the scoring leader this year. Like he's going to stick around. Can he keep up with the way McDavid scores? Can he keep up with the way that Draisaitl scores overall over 82 games? We'll see. He hasn't done it yet, but it looks like he's on pace too.
Colby, always appreciate your time, man. This was fun. We will do it again soon, and we'll do DFO Live together again in November.
Don't give anybody my address, please.
There you go. Colby Cohen, contributor for Daily Faceoff, former NHLer on the Star Mechanical guest line.